Hello everyone, welcome to Community Force webinar. My name is Mehreen Mirza and I am going to facilitate this webinar and be answering the questions that you may have during the Q&A break. Now, while we're waiting for everyone else to join, let us show you how you can use this webinar to ask your questions and access the handouts. Now, as you can see, there is a panel on the right-hand side of your screen with an arrow. Please use the arrow that is represented in an orange box to collapse or open the panel. This way you'll have a little bit more screen space to see the presentation. You can use the question area to type in your questions and click on send or enter. We will receive your questions and answer them by typing them in or verbally during the Q&A break. If we happen to miss any of your questions, then we'll send you the response via email after this webinar. Also, a copy of today's presentation is available in the handout section. Please click on the PDF copy by clicking on the title of the handout as shown here and download it. This handout contains links to individual help guides, knowledge-based articles, and FAQs for each of the topics that we're covering today. All of you also have been put on mute in order to avoid any confusion during this presentation. Let us see. Okay. Now, since most of you have joined, let us start with a brief of this webinar. The topic for today is awarding applicants, the one-to-many application process, meaning one application that is associated with multiple funds. We have with us Christine Smith, who will be our trainer for today and go over all the relevant areas under this topic. The duration of this webinar is 1 hour. I will pass the mic over to Christine now. All yours, Christine, thank you so much, everyone.
And thank you so much, Maureen. So let's go ahead and get started with our session today. So of course, this webinar is going to cover a nice brief overview of how to award our applicants using that one-to-many process like Maureen brought out. And so we're going to discuss also how to build out, after you've awarded, how to build out and release acceptance and post-accepted sections. And then how you can use those to collect information, how some helpful best practices that some of our clients use and how they use those with the one-to-many process. And then we'll also talk about the thank you letter functionality. I know some of you were interested in that thank you letter functionality that we have, and then how to incorporate that into your process also. So who's going to benefit from today's webinar? Of course, any of you administrators who are responsible for awarding your applicants, as well as notifying them of their award and then collecting those agreements from them. So you'll be the ones, if you are responsible for those duties, then you'll be the ones that will benefit from today's session. So the topics we're going to cover, of course, is updating the award amount allocation. So that's the allocation amount that you're going to be awarding your applicants from a specific funding source. And then we'll talk about how to award your applicants when you have a multiple fund process, and then how to edit an award. So maybe you've made an award and you need to edit it. So we'll talk about that. And then how you can send emails to from the system. And then we'll take a quick break. And during that break is when Maureen will answer any of the Q&As that came in during that first portion of our session today. And then after the break, we'll continue, and that's where we'll talk about the acceptance and post-acceptance, like how to build them, how to release them, how to see if your applicants have completed them. And then at the end of that, we'll also do the thank you letters. And then we'll also kind of go in and show you from an applicant's perspective how they view all of the award process once they've received their award. So to get started, of course, we're going to talk about that updating of the award amount allocation. So first of all, is the award amount allocation? That's the monetary pool of money that is on a funding source. So whatever you're using to award your applicants, that pool of money in your general ledgers, what's the pool of money that you're going to be awarding your applicants, and what's the amount you've allocated for this specific period to award your applicants. And when we talk about a period in the system, we are looking at the entire academic year or your budget fiscal year. So if your budget year goes from January to December, that's considered an academic year or a budget year if you're a grant user. Or maybe you go from October 1 to September 30th. So that's what we mean when we talk about fiscal periods. So when you're awarding, of course, you want to determine you have your fund. If it's a scholarship fund, you have your scholarship fund. If you have grant money, you have a certain amount of money allocated to award grants. So that's going to be the total for the entire year that we're talking about, not just the application that we're awarding, but it's the entire year period, fiscal period or academic year, whatever you call it on your side. Now, we are going to be using a scholarship site today to talk about our awarding, but it is the same process. If you're a grant user and you have a one-to-many process, it's going to be the same screens and the same items, just maybe a little different terminology. So when we say funding source, again, that's the monetary pool that you're going to be awarding your applicants out of. So I'm going to log into my scholarship site here. And so the first thing, of course, you want to make sure that you have all the correct allocation set up for your awarding. So in the manage application funds, of course, you can do that. But since we want to make sure that we get the correct academic period for this application form, we're going to go in through the application form. That's your safest way to do this. And so when I talk about the academic period, you want to check to make sure that your application is tied to the correct awarding period. So if I go to application settings and I go to general information, in the general information screen, I can see this application is set to award funding out of the applicants that have applied to this application. The funding period, that pool of money that's been allocated for that period, is the 24-25. So you always want to make sure you're awarding out of the correct period so that it gets allocated to that fund for the correct period as well. Because whenever you're doing awarding from an application form, it's always looking at the academic year of that application form and putting the awards into that pool of that fund's pool of money to award. So there's the academic year. So then the next thing I want to do is look at the assigned application funds. These were the ones that you set up in the very beginning of the application form. You can't assign any now because your applicants have applied and have been matched. So once they've applied, of course, you can't set this up. This is why you always do this at the beginning. But you just want to make sure you're a total amount allocated. You've got enough money to allocate for this specific application form. Now, when you're looking at the total amount allocated, that is for the not just for this applications period. So maybe you have a spring quarter and a fall quarter. It's all coming out of the same academic year, but you have a spring application and a fall application. Well, let's say this is my fall application. I want to make sure this is the entire amount. So maybe I have 15 for spring, 15 for fall. This is the entire academic period, not just this application. It's the entire period that this monetary amount needs to be looked at. So if I want to update these, I can easily do that from this screen. And anytime I update from the application, of course, that's why we checked that general information fiscal period. That's where it's going to allocate the funding that I set on this application. So if you need to do that, you do just need to hit this update amount allocated, and then you'll want to select the funds if you need to make adjustments and make the adjustments to the amounts so that when you are awarding, you can see what you have remaining or what you've used up. And then of course, once you enter that data, make sure it's selected and hit save, and then that will make the appropriate changes to that funding source. So now that brings us to, you've got everything set up, you know everything looks good, I'm ready to award. So to manage your awards in a one-to-many application fund, you're going to use the Manage Awards Multiple Funds. That's where you're going to see your applicants and all the awards that they've been matched to, all those different funding sources that they've been matched to, and then you can award based on each individual funding source. So I'm going to go back to the site here. And so that's going to be located. So here I'm going to go back home here. And so here on home, I'm going to go into the application form that I want to award in. And then I'm going to go to the awards screen. And then once I'm at the awards screen, I want to make sure I'm on the Manage Awards Multiple Funds. If I was on the Manage Awards One Funds, you're going to see the difference here. I'm just going to switch here so you can see that you don't want to be there. When you're on the Manage Awards 1 fund, it's not going to give you any monetary amount because with the one-to-many application process, it is going to be looking at the posting fund. But in a multiple Manage Awards, multiple funds, it's going to be looking at all the individual funds that you have there. So let me see if it's going to let me click on it here. Yeah, so that you can see the difference. This is the one-to-one. You don't want to be here because you can see there's nothing here allocated because this is the posting fund. This isn't all those individual funds that you're wanting to award. The multiple funds, however, when I click on it, you'll see now I can see each individual fund that was tied to this application and then what I have remaining to award. Now you're going to notice these first few here, these are total amount allocated, amount awarded, amount unallocated. This is for the entire fiscal period, okay? These figures here, if I've awarded, maybe I have my spring, I've already done my spring awarding, it's going to show me what I've got allocated for the entire year and then the amount I have awarded so far, and then what's still remaining to award. And then, of course, how many applicants have been awarded. And then over here, we're going to see for this specific application form, the number of applicants awarded in this application and the number that are matched in this specific application for this funding source. Now, when I want to go ahead and award, I'm going to go ahead and select the funding source I want to award. So I have my DHG scholarship. I know everything's done with that. We're ready to do the awards. We've got the approval from the board, and we're going to go in and award our applicants that received that scholarship. So I'm going to click on it. And then once I click on it, you're going to see then all of those applicants that it said was matched. We're going to see those applicants here on this page. So these are the applicants that applied to this application form. For the DH, they were matched to this scholarship because we did the matching in the build of the application. And as they were applying, the system was matching them to the specific scholarships they were eligible for. And so these are the ones that have been matched to that scholarship. Now you're going to be able to see, of course, the applicants. You're going to be able to see what status they're currently at. And then you're also going to, over here, be able to see what their scores are. Now, when you're looking at the total score here, this is where you need to use extreme caution. When you're looking at the total score, this total score right now is picking up the totals for all of the active tasks. So I don't want to see how they scored on everything. I need to come over here and filter, click the filter button where it says filter by review task. I need to select the task, the review scores for this specific scholarship. And then that will change the scores so that I'm only looking at the scores for the DHG scholarship. Now with the automated score here, the automated scoring that you've got set up, since I chose the DHG endowed scholarship, it will automatically pick up the automated score that was set up for the DHG scholarship when I created my automated scores for that scholarship. But with the total scores, you do always want to make sure to go into this filter and make sure you filter the appropriate task so that you're only looking at the scores for that specific task. So now I'm looking at my applicants and I'm ready to start doing my awarding. And so when you're looking at this, you can always hit the total score. And when you hit that total score, it'll give you an ascending or descending, depending on where it was when you clicked on it. So you can get the high to low scores as needed. So here I'm looking at my applicants and maybe I'm looking at them and I see this amber and I decide, okay, I see, I do want to go ahead and award her this scholarship. And so some of the helpful tools you have when you're on the screen is, first of all, maybe you have someone who's pretty close neck and neck. And so you want to see, okay, I have some determining questions. Maybe if she had a higher GPA or a lower GPA, I'm going to make my determination on that. So that's where when you built the application and you marked questions to be show on the award screen, that's where these are going to show. So if I hit this little question mark here, It's going to give me all those questions I tagged when I built them to show on the award screen. And so I can see, okay, what's her GPA? What was this, maybe the FAFSA? What was the amount here? I can see all that as I'm looking at this applicant. And then I can go to the next applicant and see how they scored and so forth and make my determination. Also, maybe they're pretty close. Maybe I want to see, maybe is Amber eligible for other scholarships? So I can go over here to the matching awards and I can click on it and I can see what else she's matched to. What other scholarships is she going to be eligible for? Oh, I can see, okay, she's in the DSS, she's in the SOOPS, she's in the athletic training, she's matched in those also. So that's where I can then maybe go back and forth to some of those funds, see who's going to be getting awarded, and maybe she could be eligible for those, and then maybe I want to give that to her. So that gives you that. And then of course, again, you can see there's those questions again at the top for just her. If I go back here, I also, while I'm here, I can also maybe see, I can come over here and hit the scorecard, and I can see maybe in the other ones, what some of the scoring was and how the reviewers scored in those also, or I can just filter down for a specific task. Maybe I think, oh, maybe she's eligible for the DSS. She does have a pretty high score, so maybe I'll wait and award her then. Okay, so that's some of the things that you can look at while you're in this awarding screen. So I'm going to go back to award applicant details. I'm just going to bounce back one more. So here we are. So then now I know who I'm going to award. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Amber. We've already awarded this gentleman here. He's received the award and he's accepted it. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to award Amber, I'm going to hit the award applicant. And that's going to take me to the screen similar to what we just saw, but it doesn't list all of the awards. So to add an award, to give Amber her award, I do have to come here and select Add Award. And then this is the screen that will appear. Now the top section of the screen to the renewable section, that is all standard. Everyone will have that on their screen. The fields below this are fields that I've activated in the administration tab under the awards screen, additional fields I want to see that I need to populate when I have an award for an applicant. Now, I don't need to complete all of these now. Once I give her the award, maybe I have an acceptance process I need to go through. And so then once I do actually do the payout, I can actually come here and enter those fields as well. And then these fields that have been activated, these also are available in ad hoc reports. So now I'm ready to award Amber. Now you're going to notice this little drop down. Now you're going to notice you do want to use caution, because when you're here, since she did match to other scholarships, when I click this, I'm going to see a listing of other scholarships I can select. So if maybe I want to give her a DHG, then when I'm done, I don't want to have to go all the way out. I can actually, maybe I'm going to give her 2 scholarships. I can come in, do another add award, and then select that scholarship, all from this one page that's sitting back here behind here. But I'm going to make sure this is the DHG. That's the one I went into. It's still showing me what I got left to available to award, the original allocation amount for the fiscal period, and then the amount left to award for right now. Now the initial award and final award, what are those? Initial award, think of it as a place card. You're not actually giving them the final, it's not the actual award. It's not going to do anything. It's just telling you if maybe you need to run a report for your board before you actually award your applicants. What the initial award does is allows you to put in a monetary figure. I'm not going to put in a monetary figure, and then save the award so that you can keep track of what you've got remaining, make all your awards, and then come in, give a report to your board. And then once you give the report to the board, you can come back in and enter a final award. Now you don't have to do that. You can skip this process, but that's just an extra step that helps you have a place holding. So of course, when you do a final award, it will put their status to selected for an award. So it's also the initial award might be something you might want to use if you haven't notified your applicants yet. You don't want them going in and seeing an accept button. They're not going to see that they're selected for an award, but they will see an accept button. And if you haven't deactivated sections that you've got to show when they get selected for an award, then those sections would appear on their dashboard. So that's another reason why you might want to use the initial award, populate it, let them know, and then come back in and re-enter it if you need to. But I'm just going to go ahead and go straight to the final award. And so see if I can move this over. I'm going to close this out so I can show you one thing. So you're going to notice right now she's under committee review. So when I enter a final award, not the initial award, if you enter initial award, it will not change the status. But the final award, if I enter a final award amount, and so I can enter the data, I can enter comments, is renewable. All this does is just gives you a placeholder on this application where you can see what scholarships were renewable. And it just gives you a report. It doesn't do anything else. It just gives you a report on when the next renewable date is. So I don't necessarily use this because it means I would have to keep going back to this application year after year. So I don't use my renewable feature, but I do know we are working on a better renewable feature that we'll be releasing out sometime to our clients. I don't know exactly when though. Okay, so this is the award. And then if you want to enter a comment, you can. And then here, I'm going to leave that no. I don't have this data yet, so I'm not going to populate it, but I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now notice, remember, her status was under committee review. As soon as I hit save, her status is now changed to selected for an award. And that's because I populated that final award field. So anything that's on her application form that's triggered to appear as soon as an applicant gets to selected for an award, if I have any sections active, those are going to now show if she was to log in at this time. But there is a way we're going to talk about here in a few minutes when you have those additional sections, how to deactivate them so they don't get those. And so maybe then if you don't have them activated, all they're going to see is an accept and decline on their dashboard. And that gives you the time to then send them a notification you've been awarded, go into those screens, and then you can go and activate those manually. Okay, so now she's been awarded. It's selected for an award, so everything's done. I've awarded her and everything's ready to go. So that is pretty much how you award applicants. And like I said, maybe I want to give her another award. I can actually go here, click add award. I can change this to DSS, and then I can go ahead and give her another award for the DSS if I wanted to, and then hit save, but I'm not going to. She's only going to get the one. So then if I go back here now, one level, you're going to see now I've got her award and the other gentleman's as well. Now maybe I want to make an edit. So then how do I edit awards after I've created them? So maybe I awarded them and now I'm realizing, you know what, I don't want to give her that. I want to change the amount. Or maybe the other gentleman, I want to change his amount. So what you do to make an edit, it's very simple. You just go back into their name here, go back into the award applicant screen, hit the edit on, make sure you're in the right award. This is the award. Make sure you hit the edit on that award and make your adjustment here. And then hit save. Now, if I was to delete this completely and I didn't have any other awards for her, then her status would go back to under committee review. Now remember, if I'm awarding multiple awards, as soon as I award the first one, their status is going to go to selected for an award. So I might not be even done awarding yet, but their status is going to be at selected for an award at that stage. But I can still award her the other scholarships. I just don't want her going in and completing anything. Okay, now if you hit delete on and there was multiple ones, of course it's just going to stay as selected for an award until you delete all of the awards that you've awarded her through this application. Something else. So now I've awarded her. So now I'm ready to let her know that she has an award. and I want her to return to her application form, or maybe you just want to give her a notification that she's been awarded. You can do that from this screen by selecting their name here and hitting notify. Now, before I do that, I do want to talk about the email template that is built for the one-to-many application process. So under notifications here, when we go to notify the awarded applicant, so we want to go to the notification center here. And under the notification center, find the template. So my template is called awarded scholarship award. And this is for my one-to-many process. Now, when you create your templates here, when it's a one-to-many application process, I'm telling them what their award is, and then I have this field called award details. I'm not using final award, and I'm not using initial award. So some of you have a one-to-one application process, and you were on our last training. You probably remembered I said use final award or initial award. Well, with a one-to-many process, you don't want to use those fields. You want to use these two fields, the award details and the initial award details. What's the difference between these two? The award details is for populating of the final award. So if you're giving them this notification and you've populated the final award field, then you want to use the awards detail. And what the awards detail does is it gives them the name of the scholarship and the amount they received for that scholarship. So the reason a one-to-many has this is they could get more than one scholarship. So the award details, maybe I gave her the DSS and maybe I gave her the DHG. It's going to give them separate lines for each one of those, and then the amount that she received for each individual one. So that's why this is important. Now the initial award amount, maybe I haven't populated her final award amount because I didn't want her status to go to selected for an award. So then what I did is I'm going to go ahead and make sure I select this field so that she gets the initial award. Because if I put this in, the award details for the final award, and I haven't populated that figure yet, of course, it's going to show 0. But of course, I'm using the final award, so I have that award detail field in here. That's very important that you do that. Because if I was to put this here, the grants and fellowship name, that's not going to give the name of the grant that or the fellowship or the scholarship that she actually received. It's going to be the one that is the posting fund name that's tied directly to the application. This is always the fund that's tied directly to the application. In a one-to-one, I would include that. In a one-to-many, I would not include that. That's where the award details field comes into play. So once I award them, so if I go back to the awards, like I said, and you can do this from any screen, I'm just doing it from the awards screen. There's no, that email does not go out automatically. You do have to manually send that to your applicants. So I would need to come back in here if I was already here, of course, and then I can find Amber. And then once I find Amber, if I'm in the right fund, that's why you always want to be in the right fund. And then once I find her here, I can go ahead and select it, hit notify, and then look for that template we just discussed. And if I selected multiple applicants, I can do this for multiple applicants because of course it's going to populate it with just their data because of those merge fields. And it's going to then award them all of the awards, show them the award details for all the awards that I've given them for all of the applicants that I've selected. And then I can schedule it. So maybe I need some time to go and activate some sections. I can schedule it to go out tomorrow so she doesn't get this till tomorrow, or I can go ahead and send it now. So I can do a schedule or I can send now. And if I hit send now, it's going to immediately send that email to her with the information on what she needs to do for the next steps of the scholarship process. So I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel. So that's how you send notifications out. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here. This is a good breaking point and see if there's any questions that have come through. and let Maureen answer any questions that have. So it's all yours, Maureen.
Thank you, Christine. Yeah, we do seem to have a good number of questions here. One of the questions is my academic year is not getting updated on the application fund screen, managing application fund screen. So when you're setting up the fund, right, and you want to update the latest or this year's academic year, if you're having trouble setting up with to the current year, please reach out to us on Zendesk. Our support team will help you get that done. From the back end, there might be something that's not accurately set up for your academic years. So please reach out to our support team. All right. And then the other question says, do I have to update the amount allocated before I open the application, or can I do that later? That is the total budget for the year under each fund. Ideally, we expect you to update that, as and when you're setting up your application. That is when the application rollover has been done. But understanding the fact that you might not have the complete budget at that point of time, maybe a month or 2 months down the line, you might have the final budget. So you can wait, but make sure that, as Christine has shown, before you start awarding, please update the total amount allocated under each of the funds. Okay, because any delay or you're not updating the updated what do you say, the budget for that specific fund, and then you continue awarding, the remaining amount that's still in the system might go in the negatives. How the system is going to calculate it. So you make sure that you update the award amount allocated before you start making the awards.
And I'm just going to jump in there too. Some have a process. I don't know about the ones
Mhm,
that are on here that we do have
mhm.
available. So that's why
Yes.
it's important, even when before you go live with your application form, so that applicants get matched to it, you have at least $1 in there. The applicants aren't seeing the amount you have available in that awarded amount. So when you're in the application settings and you're looking at the assigned applications, always make sure there's at least $1, so that some of our clients have that process where if it says zero, it won't even match the applicants to where they can see what they're matched to. So if you have
Yes.
that process, you always want to make sure you at least have $1 in there. And so that's why we
Thank you
just
so
always say
much.
at least just put $1, so that if you're not sure if you have that process, one, you can always ask, but two, you don't have to worry about it not matching applicants because it said a zero figure when they're applying.
Yes. Thank you so much, Christine. Yes. Okay. That was very helpful, Christine. And that is a functionality. If you'd like to have that enabled, reach out to us on Zendesk as well, where the amount remains zero and none of your applicants get to see that fund, the matching fund. Okay. That's a separate functionality. If you want that activated, get in touch with us and we'll help you get it activated from the backend.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll just add to that too, because it's very helpful, especially if you have funding sources from year to year. You don't want to have to delete them and remove them and do a bunch of turn it off and on. You might want it out there, but you don't want the applicants to see that they've been matched to it. If it says zero with that functionality, it won't even match them to that application. They won't see it. You'll be able to see on the back end that you had some people match, but then you'll
Mhm.
also be able to see you didn't have money to fund it either.
Right. Thank you so much. Yes, that is a very helpful feature. If you're interested, do reach out to us and we'll get you set up. Okay. Thank you so much, Christine. And then we have another question is, my manage award multiple fund screen does not show the applicants as per the funds. I only see a list of applicants. Well, what has happened is, on your administration side, Christine, can we go to the administration, please? There is a setting actually. So you can have an applicant view or you can have a scholarship view. One small button, just change the setting and you will have the scholarship view enabled. So yes, as Christine is showing, go to manage site settings. We have to scroll down right towards the awarding screen there. Manage award settings. I'll scroll up a little bit. See, manage award. So applicant specific. What has happened on your site is it has gone into the applicant specific, uh, you know, mode. So you want to make it to scholarship or grant specific, then you will be able to see all the applicants that are matching under the relevant scholarship names. Okay, thank you so much, Christine. All right. And then I have this one last question. Will my applicants be notified when I enter the initial or the final amount? No, the system is not going to automatically send out any email notifications to any of your applicants. We want to make sure that your applicants or end users inboxes are not unnecessarily sent emails. So we want to make sure that the admin has full control over all the email notifications that are sent out from the system. Some are, of course, automated like a submission, etc. But no, when you give in an award, the applicants do not automatically receive any such email. So you can rest assured and continue doing the awarding. Well, I think I'll cover this question in the next portion, Christine. So back to you, Christine. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, and thank you so much, Maureen. We'll go ahead and move forward then with the next section, not session. We're in the session. So, of course, the next thing we're going to talk about now is after you've awarded your applicants, you've notified your applicants. So maybe you need to collect data. Maybe you want to incorporate your agreement process as part of the application process. So that's where the acceptance and post-accepted sections come in. So they've applied, they've been awarded. Now you want them to complete additional data. Maybe you want them to do an agreement section to where they accept the award. And then after they accept the award, maybe you have a post-accepted section to where you need to gather additional data. If it's a scholarship, maybe you need to gather once they've accepted the award, where do you want to send the funding? Where do I need to send the funding? When is your tuition due? That sort of thing. Different questions that you might need to capture after the award process. Or maybe you're rolling it out over the period of 1 year, maybe the first semester or second semester, whatever, you're wanting to keep track of their GPA. So you're creating sections for every quarter of that year, that semester. What was their grade? Maybe the spring or the fall. What was their GPAs in order for them to be eligible? They have to keep it up, and then you can send out the second rollout of funding for that period. So acceptance sections and post-accepted sections are how you capture that data. And so to build those sections, there is a special way to build out those sections so that you can identify them easily in the system. And so I'm going to go back to my site here. And so to capture data after the awarding, here, if I go back to my application form, I'm going to go to the application settings. This is where you would build those sections. They're just an extension of the application form. So you're going to notice over here I have my sections. I have my application sections and my request sections, which were part of the initial application process. They all had the same deadline as my original application form. But then I get down here, and since my deadline of the application, of course, was 24, then these sections here after the awarding process, so that's going to come after the original deadline of the application form. So I do have different deadlines that they have to complete these sections. And then I have these sections designed so that when an applicant gets to a specific status, only when they're at that status are they going to see these sections. So since these are sections that come after their award, then I'm going to make sure that, for example, they've received the award. This is where they're going to acknowledge the award. This is where I'm going to give them the agreement form. So these two sections I want to appear as soon as they've been selected for an award. I want the applicants to have these on their dashboard. So how do I build these? These are my acceptance sections. Now I do have a best practice here, and you're going to see how I have these set up and why I have two of these set up. Is I have one where they're going to see the award that they've received. And in this section, there's going to be a question that is the award, the scholarship awarded question. And it's going to give them a list of all the scholarships the name of the scholarships they were awarded, and then the amount of the scholarships they were awarded, kind of a nice overview where they can see what they received. Then what I have is a trigger section, which is the actual agreement form that explains all of the information needed for the scholarship that they are awarded. Now you're going to notice I don't have this section appearing until they answer that they've acknowledged that they've seen the scholarship they are receiving. Then once they answer that question and hit save on this section, it then triggers this section to appear. And then within this section, there's going to be questions that appear based on what they were matched to. So when I built these two sections, these are acceptance sections. So I'm going to talk about them as two sections together and then show you how we've built that out. So these two sections, when I build these, as soon as they were awarded and their status went to selected for an award, I want these on their dashboard. Only these two when it's selected for an award. So when they go in, and when I create these two sections, the key things I need to build are, when I go to the edit here, is I need to make sure it has a section deadline. I don't want it to be the deadline of the application form because that's passed and they won't be able to complete it if that deadline isn't within the range. Hasn't come, if it's not in the future. Okay, so that's the first thing, is make sure I have a section deadline and I adjust the deadline date to the date I want to give them to complete this by. Then I come over here and I say, okay, what statuses do they need to be at in order to see this section? So I've chosen 3, a selected for an award, an award accepted, and award declined. Now, if I would say just selected for an award, as soon as they accepted their award, they would no longer see this. It would disappear. So that's why I always want to go for the one that they're going to be at when they get it, and then the statuses following that they need to be at. So this one I'm going to have selected for an award. I'm going to do award accepted. I'm also going to do award declined because even though they might decline the award, they're still going to be able to see this section. Now, accepted and declined, you may be saying, well, what are those? So in the award process, we have a built-in award process on our system. As soon as an applicant gets set at selected for an award, on their dashboard, which I'm at the end of today's session, I'm going to go in as an applicant so you can see how they see all this. On their dashboard are 2 buttons, a decline button and an accept button. If they hit decline, their status is going to go to award declined. If they click accept, their status is going to go to award accepted. So that decline and accept, it works just like a submit button. And then that's how you know they've completed this section, because the selected for an award is the status they're at. As soon as they hit that button, it's going to say award accepted, and they can't hit that button if all the sections aren't 100% complete. Okay, so they have to be 100% complete. So if this section's out there, it's not going to let them accept that award or decline it because they haven't completed the application process. So all of my applicants that get selected for an award, I want them to get this. I'm going to go ahead and save and exit. And then on the other section, I did the same. I did the acceptance, I did the date, and then also one thing I forgot to show you here in this section, so that when you're on this screen, you can identify, is this section type? Make sure and put that as acceptance as well, because that way when you get back to this screen, you'll be able to see easily which sections are your acceptance sections and which sections are your application sections and which sections are your post-acceptance sections. So here's my acceptance sections. So then once you create the shell of that section, then that's where you go in. And then this is my acknowledgement form. And when I built this acknowledgement form, I included this question. And this is very important because this question right here is what's going to drive other questions that follow this section, that depending on what scholarship they were awarded, I want questions to appear. I set logic on those questions, that logic is pointing to this specific question. And if they are awarded a specific scholarship, they start seeing data just for the scholarship that they were awarded to. That's why this is a very important question to build out. This is going to give them all the awarded scholarships they've received, and then it's going to drive other sections, other questions in other sections that I've built out, so that only those specific questions will appear to them pertaining to the scholarships that they were awarded. They won't see all the data from other scholarships. They're only going to see the data for the scholarships that they were awarded. And then of course here I have, do you want to accept this? And this question here I built because that's the one that as soon as they answer yes to this, that's what drives the section that follows this to appear on their dashboard. Because I don't want them to see that until they've actually seen what they've been awarded. Now you can't do this in the same section because this awarded scholarship needs a save. As soon as you click the save, that's what triggers that to populate, and then that's what triggers the other question. So you always have to do this in a separate section if you're using this question to drive logic on other questions. Okay, so here's my acknowledgement. And then after they actually answer all the questions in the acknowledgement, this agreement form is going to appear on their dashboard. And you can see with this agreement form, it's the exact same settings. It's acceptance, section deadline, selected, award accepted, award declined, and I have a deadline date. All of that's still the same because it's all part of the acceptance process. Okay, this gives them the scholarships, and then this is the agreement form. So this is where here you can see this section I've got triggered to only appear as soon as they say the yes to that I accept the scholarship question. Then as soon as they say yes to that question, hit save, they return to their dashboard, they're going to see this section. Then they're going to click in on this section. When they click in on this section, you can see here's all my little paragraphs for my individual scholarships. Each scholarship may have a different message, and this is how you can do that. So I've got my questions for each scholarship, depending on whatever scholarship they received, any data that I need to collect pertaining to that scholarship. Once they've been awarded it, they've accepted it, I might have maybe one of them I need a photo, one of them I don't. Maybe I need thank you letters, maybe I don't. We do have a thank you letter process I'm going to show you, but if you don't want to use our process, then of course this also kind of gives you a good idea of how you can create questions to collect thank you letters pertaining to the scholarship that they've been matched to. Maybe you want to tell them each scholarship has a specific message that they need to include in their thank you. So here you can see, here's all those different questions. And then over here, the logic, so I'm going to click on this one, is that scholarship awarded to, so that specific question type that I created, that scholarship awarded. Don't get it mixed up with matching scholarships. It's not what they've been matched to. It's the scholarships they've been awarded. It's a separate question type that was built. Scholarships awarded to you does not contain this scholarship, then they won't see that question. If they were awarded that scholarship, then they're going to see any questions I have tagged to appear if they were awarded that scholarship. So it's looking at that question, and then what does that question have to contain in order for them to see it? And then that's how I set the logic for that. So of course, if the person didn't get awarded the scholarship, and when that logic looks at that question and doesn't see that scholarship in it, it's not going to show that data to them. So any question that's pertaining to a specific singular scholarship, then I want to make sure and set the logic on it. Otherwise, if I need a photo for every single one of my scholarships, then of course I'm not going to set the logic, because when they come to this, I need their picture no matter what. So you can kind of see how this is done. Get some nice little examples here of ways that we do that. Okay, so that's the acceptance process. So once the acceptance process is over, so one thing you're going to notice, I think I had that in there. Let me just double check. In my preview one of these. Yes. So one thing you want to include, there's a nice message here, because if they don't do this, you're not going to know that they've done this whole acceptance process. So on their dashboard, remember I told you as soon as they're at selected for an award, automatically this system has a decline button and an accept button. Well, they can go in and complete these sections, but you also need to make sure they go back to their dashboard and click one of those buttons. And it's important that you tell them if they're accepting the award to click the accept. If they're declining it, then they don't want to complete the form, they need to hit the decline. Make it jump out at them, put it in red, make it big and bold so that they know they complete that section when you send them the notification email. Make sure that you put in there, make sure you click that button, because if they don't, you don't know they've completed it, and then you're going to be following behind them and trying to get them to complete it before the deadline. So it's very important that you also incorporate that step into your instructions on that sections page. So as soon as they do that, they click the accept button, what's going to happen is their status is going to move from selected to an award, and their status is going to change at that time to award accepted, and then that's how you'll know they completed that section. Now, the last status we have in our system is award accepted. So now they've accepted their award. So let's jump to the post acceptance. They've been awarded, you've notified them, they've accepted their award, they've completed their award acceptance. Once they accept the award, you want them to complete additional data, maybe what's their claim form, or maybe if you are a grant user, maybe you have quarterly reports. You need them to report on their funding and that year's reporting. Post-acceptance sections are what you would create. You can see here. So here I have my agreement, I've got my scholarship award form, and then I've also got my thank you letter process that we're going to talk about here in a minute. This is where I have all my thank you letters that I'm gathering for each one of my scholarships. I have a separate section for that. Once they've accepted the award, then I want them to provide me their thank you letter. So those are post-accepted sections. So to build those, I'm going to go to here. In each post-accepted section, everyone's built the same. I'm going to go to the edit. Again, in section type, make sure you put post-acceptance so that when you're looking at that front screen, you can see that that's a post-accepted section. And then, of course, here, I'm only going to want them to get it once they've accepted the award. They've already gone past the selected for an award. I don't need that because I don't want them to get it at selected for an award. I only want them to have this section once they've accepted it, and only once they've accepted it. So that's why I only put that status. Again, it has a section deadline. And then the next very important step for a post-acceptance section is you want to make sure it has a submit button, and you want to make sure and tell them that as soon as they complete this section, you need them to click the submit. And the reason that is because the next thing we're going to talk about here in a few minutes is, since there's no more statuses in the system, they're always going to be at award accepted. This submit button, there's a report called post-acceptance section report. When they click that submit button on this section, that's what then triggers the system to where you can see if they've completed this specific section, since there's no more statuses. So of course, those are the four important settings, I should say. You got the type, the status, the deadline, and a submit button on a post-acceptance section. Those are all very important to have when building those out. So now I've built them out, and so I have my post-accepted section. And so as soon as they click that award accepted, they go out, come back into their application form. They're now going to see those sections appearing on their dashboard. So that brings us to the next question then. What are some tricks in releasing acceptance and post-accepted sections? So let's say I've awarded my applicants. The system put them at selected for an award, but I don't want them to see those sections yet. And of course, those sections are triggered to appear when they're at selected for an award. Or maybe a post-accepted section. Maybe I am gathering quarterly reports. I don't want them having that quarterly report until a month before it's due. And then I want to be able to tell them, go into the system, complete your report, and go forward from there. So how can I control that? Because of course, all of these are saying, as soon as you're at the status, appear on your dashboard. Very simple. See these little check marks right here? If these are not checked, the applicant will not be able to see those. So if these are unselected, I can leave them unselected, hit save, and then when I'm ready for the applicant to receive these, I can select it, hit save, and now it'll be on their dashboard. This is also good like for the acknowledgement. Maybe you've done all your awarding, you have an awards banquet, and you don't want your applicants completing anything until that awards banquet. You don't want them to see that they've received an award, what that award is. Then you can unselect these, hit save, send your notification out, have your banquet. At the banquet, tell them starting tomorrow, you need to return to your application form. Once you return to your application form, there'll be additional sections for you to complete to accept the award and move forward with the application process. So then after that banquet, you come back in here, quickly select these, and then hit save, and those will be on their dashboard. The same with the post-accepted sections. Until they need to complete it, leave it turned off. Then when it comes time for them to complete it, shoot them an email come here, hit the select, make sure and hit save. If it's not selected and it's not saved, it's not going to show to them. Make sure and hit the selection, turn it on, and then it'll be available for them to see. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select that and hit save. Make sure I have them all turned on. Yes. Okay, so that brings us to the post accepted section. So the post accepted section status report, that is the report that allows you to see when an applicant has submitted a post accepted section. So how you get to that is under the reports here, manage reports. And in manage reports, you're going to see manage post acceptance section status. And under that, you're going to see the applicants. You're going to see those post accepted sections. So I had 2 of those. And if anyone has completed it, you're going to see that it says thank you letter. I have a thank you letter, and that applicant has completed that form. And again, that is based on the submit button that they've selected. Okay, so that's the post acceptance, manage reports, manage post accepted sections. Now, before I show you from the applicant's perspective how they see all this, I do want to touch on our thank you letter process. And I apologize, hold on here. I apologize, residuals of my cold I had the other day as to why we had to postpone our session, but okay. So the manage donor thank you letters. So of course, when I was showing you this site here in the application settings, you can build your own essay boxes to capture thank you letters. You can do it in the claim form, you can do it in the agreement form, you can build a separate section like I did here, and you can create essay boxes to collect thank you letters. However, we do have a process in our system that's a thank you letter process. And what that does is you can build out questions. So like here, I have my thank you letter for my DHG scholarship. I have it flagged in my thank you letter section. I have it flagged that if the scholarship awarded, again, it's that scholarship awarded question, I have to have that present in my application form. If that scholarship awarded does not contain a specific scholarship, don't show this thank you letter section, this thank you letter question. Now you can see the question type is an actual specific question type called thank you letter. This would not be called essay question type because I'm using our Community Force thank you letter process. And so when I create a thank you letter question, like this one here, this is an individual question, I choose the type thank you letter, and then the system knows it's part of the thank you letter process. When I say process, what that does then is, as an admin, the applicant, when they come to this section, and of course everything's turned off, so you're not going to see anything, but when I do it from the applicant's perspective, you'll see this. They will see this question, and it's an essay box on their end, and they complete it. But since you said this is a thank you letter question type and not an essay, what you can do is you can go to the notification center here. And in the notification center, we have a process called Manage Donor Thank You Letters. So when I select that, you'll see here I can see all of my applicants that have completed their thank you letter question. That was part of the thank you letter question type. Not if it's you're not using that process, then it won't be here. I can view that essay box. I can make changes to it if I want. I can see who the donor of this scholarship is. And then this save and send email will send this essay box to that donor. And so if I was to hit send email, it would send that message that this applicant sent to them, that essay box, that thank you letter message, it will send it to the donor that's tied to that specific funding source. So all you have to do to set that up is, one, make sure that Manage Donor Thank You Letters is activated on your system. When you're building out your applications post-accepted sections, wherever you're putting that, I always recommend putting it in a separate section so that you can see it all right there in front of you. Hit the thank you letter, and then when you build that thank you letter question that you're going to capture that essay on, make sure that when you build it out, you choose the correct question type of thank you letter. It's a specific question that's been created to make that part of the process. Then, once you do that, you also want to make sure in the Manage Application Funds, you've assigned the donor to the fund that needs to get the email sent to them. It's an email that gets sent. So you're going to go into your funding opportunity, and then you're going to open up that funding opportunity. You can quickly see under the donor section if you have them set up. If you don't have the donor set up, then you can go here to the edit on that fund. Go down in the edit until you find donors. And then over here to the right, you'll see add a donor. That's where you can add the donor and their donor information like you see here. And then when you use that thank you letter functionality, the donor that's tied to that fund, that's tied to that scholarship award, is going to be pulled from here, and that's who it's going to send the email to. So that's our thank you letter process that we've got. Otherwise, if you don't want to use our thank you letter process, then what a lot of our clients do is when they build out the application form, they just create an essay question, not a thank you letter question type, but an essay question, capture it, and then, or they'll create a question, please upload. If they want a physical letter on letterhead, then they'll say, please upload your letter, your thank you letter for the donor. Just something simple like that. They build those questions out. So let me go in here. And show you one that's not using our thank you letter functionality. If I go here into the scholarship agreement form, there's a few in there. If they were matched to that scholarship, you'll see here we have, that's a thank you letter question. Here's an essay, please write a thank you addressed to the donor. It's just an essay, but again, it still has that logic tied so that it only shows for that specific scholarship. Or we may have here, upload the acknowledgement form or upload a thank you letter. You can just create an upload file and again, set the logic to only show for that scholarship. So that's another way if you don't want to use our thank you letter. If this question here though, if you do want to use our thank you letter process, you do need to make sure the question type says thank you letter. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. I do want to log in now. I'm going to log in as that applicant Amber. So you can kind of see, okay, now Amber, she has received her award. So how does Amber see it? How does the applicant see it from their perspective, this whole process? So you just want to make sure these are activated. They all are activated. I'm going to log out here. Log in as Amber, hopefully. So what you'll tell the applicant is once they return to their dashboard, open up their original application form. Once they open up their application form, they will see that there's those decline and accept buttons. They can't click those until they've completed their sections. Now, normally, this one here, this one I've already answered yes to, but if she hadn't answered yes to this question in this section would not be present. But since you can see right now it's showing at 50%, it's already been answered yes to, so that's why this is appearing. But there's nothing in there as of yet. It still shows it not completed. So normally she would click on this section. She wouldn't see anything else. Here's where it shows what she's been awarded. So if there's more than one scholarship, then there's going to be more than one listed here, one below each other. They're going to be listed here vertically. This is what she's been awarded, the date she was awarded it, and the monetary amount that she was awarded. Then she would come down here, hit the select yes, then enter her name here. To accept it, I can capture her signature, and then hit save and return to dashboard. And then that save is what's going to save this. And then here, when she gets to the agreement form, depending on the logic I have set, that's where she's going to see there's the scholarship agreement form. Remember on the back end we had all those paragraphs? Well, she's only seeing it for the DHG. And then a question, do you wish to accept that? She's going to say yes. And then maybe I have a, this is just an example. This is not our thank you letter process. This is just the example of one that's different from our process, where she can enter the essay box and then she can hit save and return. And now that shows 100% complete, but notice that post acceptance isn't here yet. So what she needs to do, that's why I said make sure in this section here, or in your sections, that you tell them as soon as they've completed it to make sure they go and click the accept button. Because right now she's still selected for an award because she hasn't done anything. If I go in as an admin, right now it's going to show her as selected for an award. So what she needs to do, and you're going to see what she sees on her side, it just shows submitted. But as soon as she clicks this accept button, confirm you want to accept the award, she's going to say accept award. It's going to say you successfully accepted the award. You're going to notice this still says submitted. It doesn't have any additional sections yet, but if she goes out, and remember I have all these turned on, I didn't unselect that little blue box, so they're turned on, but she's now going to see she's award accepted. You as the admin, you're going to see award accepted. And then once she sees this, since I have those other sections turned on, if she opens it up again, and then you would give them instructions if you want them to do this, you need to make sure explain this to them. Once you've accepted your award and your status is an award accepted, go back into your dashboard and complete the acceptance, post acceptance sections. So here you can see I have my award claim form and then I have that thank you letter. So that thank you letter, how does it appear to with our process? Remember I built this separate section. I'm going to click on that. Here is that essay box. It just looks like a regular essay box. And they can put all they need in here. And then notice here I have the message to hit the submit button. She hits the submit button. Returns here. And so that's completed. She hasn't done the scholarship award claim form yet. That's still showing not completed. She would need to open that up. And within that, she would need to complete it. And then when she completes it, she would have to click the submit button on that as well. So now I'm going to return, since she hasn't done it all, I want you to kind of see what it looks like from the administrator's side now. It's going to be stubborn here. It doesn't like me switching profiles on the same browser. There we go. Now, if I go back into that application, you're going to see from the administrative side, if I go to manage applicants, you're going to see she is at award accepted, and that you can see, okay, she's award accepted, so I know she's accepted the award, but from here you can't tell, has she done those other sections? So if I go to the manage reports, in the manage reports, if I go to manage post accepted sections, here I can see she has completed her thank you letter. So since I'm using the Community Force thank you letter process, I can go over here to notifications. I can go to manage donor thank you letters. And then from here, I can see, okay, she has done her thank you letter. I can view it. If I want to make some adjustments, maybe I want to fluff it up a little bit, or maybe she had a typo. Maybe I want to fix the typo for her. I can do that. And then here I can hit save and send, or just save. If I hit save, it won't send anything. If I hit save and send, it will then send it to the donor based on the donor information I have set up for it. And then it shows me here that the email was sent. So that way I can just quickly capture their thank you letters and then review them. And then once I view them, send the email out to that donor. And then the donor will receive the message. And it will look something like this, since I've already received it. Come on. This is the message here. So you can see it's just exactly how they typed it in the essay box is how it's going to appear. So that's where you might want to give the instructions to put dear, if you know the donor's name. That's where in that thank you letter question, when you build it, in the label of that thank you letter question, make sure the question, when you're building the question, what they're seeing, you give them instructions on how you want the format to be as well. Or maybe at the top of that section, in the section instructions, explain to them the format that they need to do their essay box in, so that it looks appropriate when you go to send it to the donor. So that's it for today. I'll turn it over to Maureen and see if there's any more questions that came in. Maureen, it's all yours.
Yes, Christine. Last few before we close this session. Okay, there is a question that from one of our attendees that says, can the initial award, final award, or the award details, right, be populated within the section? No, you cannot have those fields directly populate within the section. But we have, if you notice, there is another question type that is called as the awarded scholarship, right? If you use that specific question type, then the information will get populated as and when you give the final award, not the initial, but the final. Make sure that you have entered the final award so that when the applicants come in, they can see the name of the scholarship, the date it was awarded, and the amount that has been given to the applicant. Okay, so you use the awarded scholarship question type while setting up the post acceptance section. Okay, then there is a question that says, we do not do awarding in Community Force. Instead, we use a separate CRM to complete the awarding process. Can we bring in the data from that CRM into Community Force? Absolutely. Depends upon what CRM you're using, number one. And if you intend to bring it into the system, there will be an integration required, a connection between Community Force and your CRM. So reach out to us, open a ticket with us on Zendesk, or reach out to our client success team, and then we'll get back to you. We'll probably schedule a call with you, understanding the nuances of your CRM process and how you do the awarding, and we'll get that set up for you, so you can do the CRM and Community Force connection there, okay, for the awarding process. Another question that says is there a special role type for these donors? Now, we've been talking about the thank you letters. Is there a special role type for donors? No, there is no special role type for your donors. It's just in the first name and last name. Or when you're setting up your funds under manage application funds, as Christine has shown, you'll just have to assign a donor, the first name, their last name, any other fields that are present. You have that information. Please feel free to add that. But apart from just receiving thank you letter email, just like Christine has received a while back, there is no other access to these donors in the system. Okay. So they're just there to receive donor thank you letter emails. That is it. And I think we have covered all the questions. I have responded back. Just a second. All right. I think I've answered the rest of the questions in
Okay.
the questions tab, Christine. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Christine.
Okay, very
Thank you.
good. Thank you so much, Maureen, and thank you everyone for hanging in there with us today and watching our presentation. We always appreciate it when you attend and give us the questions, so we do appreciate those questions as well. And so, of course, if you get the handout, all the resources of the links to our help desk in regards to getting additional information on how to perform some of these steps, those are available in that guide. So make sure to download that so that you have a copy of that. And of course, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to enter a support ticket in Zendesk and ask for assistance with a client support specialist, time with them to maybe go over your specific processes. And then we can maybe set up a time to meet with a client support specialist and talk about your functionality and how you do your awarding processes and give you more details of how you can use our system and better utilize some of the functionalities that we have. So thank you again, everyone, for your time, and we'll go ahead and close the session for today. And everybody have a wonderful week. Our next session is going to be on the 20th. We kind of flipped it a little bit this month since we had to make a cancellation last month. So now we're going to be doing it on the 20th of this month. So the next session will be we'll be getting into our administration tab, and we're going to go over some of those site settings that are there on the administration tab. So that'll be our next session we'll be covering. So everybody enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you. Bye.